everybody, and welcome back to the Brute for Life podcast. So, I've been talking a lot about my retail experience and stuff this season, and I'll get into a little bit of that today too. But I just want to put something out there. The world has become so politically driven that we worry so much about all kinds of bullshit and all kinds of stuff that the news sources and social media and all this, all these other platforms love to put this stuff out there because they want us to argue amongst ourselves. Now, I get that everybody has a different political opinion and everybody sees things differently, and that's some of the stuff that makes the country we live in so great, is that we can discuss and put out whatever it is because we have freedom of speech. But what I don't understand is when people are there, right? And specifically over the last 12 years, there's been a lot of finger pointing and, I fucking hate this person and I hate this person and I hate you because you hate this person or like this person, whatever the fuck it is. Let's just talk about some of the shit that's going on right now. We're finding a lot of wasted money within our government. We have people that are upset that they're digging. We have people that are happy that they're digging. We have one side of the political aisle pissed off that we're digging and making it become a platform of we shouldn't be doing this. And then we have another side saying we shouldn't have to do this, but look at what we're finding. If any of the reports that have come out are true about all of this billions and billions of dollars of useless spending on shit that has not benefited those of us, which is everybody that pays taxes in the United States, if those monies have not been put to something that benefits the United States and benefits us as citizens, then it's fucking wasted money as far as I'm concerned. I think we do have an obligation as being one of the superpowers in the world to help other countries not only become better, but become, a little bit more financially stable, to be able to give them resources and stuff to not live in poverty. I think that is part of the obligation of being one of the superpowers in the world. The other thing that goes on with this is that if these age brackets for people that are collecting Social Security, a program that we have heard for decades is going to run out of money. If even 5% of the ages of people collecting Social Security is right on any of that information, why are we not upset about that? People my age, right, 46 years old, have been paying taxes for me for 30 fucking years and paying into Social Security for 30 years, and I'm paying somebody who's probably been dead longer than they've been alive to collect a Social Security check or wherever that money is actually going. Like, that doesn't piss you off as an American citizen that there is a potential that we're sending Social Security checks to people that are fucking 150 years old that aren't even alive anymore? That doesn't upset you as an individual? It doesn't upset you that, like, here's an example. My dad passed away, right, in 2022. My mom and him were both collecting Social Security. When my dad passed, you would assume that my mom would take over my dad's portion of the Social Security because they were married, or at least a percentage of it. What they did is she continues to collect hers, and then she only collects like a percentage of the difference between her check and my dad's check. So she literally lost thousands of dollars a month because that's the way Social Security figures these money. The monies for this. Now, take that, right? Now you have a single individual who's paid into Social Security their whole life, that was living in a two-person income where they were paying a mortgage and bills and health insurance coverage and all these other things to be able to live a normal lifestyle. One of them dies, and now you're stuck with essentially 1.1 Social Security checks. And then you find out that, like, there's people that are getting sent Social Security checks, or age groups of people that have been dead for centuries, and you can't even get enough of an income or at least assume the responsibility of your deceased spouse's social security? That's fucking mind-blowing to me. How do we allow this shit to happen? And I'll tell you how some of it happens is that, unfortunately for our government, the way we pass bills and stuff like that, like a bill on, say, energy efficiency, and the whole thing, it has to, the main cusp of the name of the bill has to do with maybe putting up wind farms or solar farms or something to offset energy. And within that bill, which you think would probably only be about 50 or 60 pages explaining where the money's going to be allocated and whatever else, you're looking at like a 3,000 to 5,000 page bill that incorporates all of these little things that they are finding spending happen on. And I get it, like there needs to be a leverage point from both sides of the aisle. Well, if you want us to sign off on this that we don't 100% agree on, then we need to be able to incorporate this. But at what point does it go from maybe 100 pages to fucking 5,000 pages? Why are we just wasting money while us as normal, American citizens pay taxes, and most of the middle class saves some money but lives pretty tightly in order to be able to survive? And we're wasting money? We don't have money to help those people in North Carolina from the floods? We barely have any money to help those fires in California, but we've got billions of dollars to waste on all these other bullshit products like how much fucking tequila it takes a sunfish to get fucking drunk? We're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this shit? How the fuck does any of that make any sense? I don't necessarily agree with everything that the government does, but right now, if even a small percentage of what they're finding is accurate, what the fuck? And not everybody's going to like Elon Musk, and not everybody's going to like the way he goes about what he does, but people are pissing and moaning like the man doesn't have the security clearance to do this. The man builds rockets and works with NASA in SpaceX. He's already been vetted. He's already got top secret security clearances. He does have access and the clearance to look at this shit. That's the sad part about the media, is that they want to put out a spin on things, and they've been doing it for fucking decades, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Like when it doesn't benefit whatever the current administration or whatever whatever political platform, if it doesn't benefit one or the other, then the other side is going to make a big deal out of some aspect of something. That's just the way politics works. And we need, as American citizens, to realize that just because we don't see eye to eye on things, which we shouldn't, because varying opinions and varying views is what brings growth. And if we're going to continue to grow or fix problems, like, we need different opinions. We can't have everybody thinking the same thing. There's a reason why at round tables, the demographic of people that sit at those tables is not the same. It's always people of different nationalities, different religious beliefs, different genders, or identify differently, or live a different lifestyle. There's always a variety of thoughts and backgrounds at those tables, because you want everybody's opinion. You want to make sure that it's not a bunch of yes men that says, yeah, that's a great idea, we should do it, and then it fucking fails epically. We need to be better than that. And we need to stop fucking posting all of this fucking political shit. I'm tired of fucking seeing, like, my LinkedIn account, there's been more political shit on that platform lately that, like, it has no business being there. That's a job board where we talk about, different things that are opportunities within our businesses, and we talk about human resource things, and we talk about growth of business and direction that different businesses go in, and all of these kind of attributes. It's not a political platform. So stop fucking putting political shit on there. And as far as like the Instagram stuff and Facebook and whatever else, like, yes, it is a platform to be able to express your ideas and all of that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, what we really need to realize is that we got to back off of what the media says. We need to back off of alienating each other because of political standpoints. Like, we don't alienate each other because we have different religions, because somebody's Catholic and somebody's Jewish. Doesn't stop you from being friends with them, even though those are varying opinions when it comes to religious beliefs. We need to get back to people just being people, and we need to be back to people accepting people for who they are as an individual. It's okay to have varying opinions. That doesn't change what that person may bring to the table. And the fact that some groups are separating somebody because of that, and then those are the same groups that are talking about DEI and being accepting of an alternative lifestyle and all of these other things and saying that people are racist. Well, you can't separate people because of their political beliefs and not have it be a counteracting point from what you're trying to lobby for. If we're going to draw the line, then we need to be on the line. We need to be in the middle, and everybody needs to come to the middle and have a conversation and be open and willing to discuss varying point of views. That's what America is about. It's not about one person's opinions more important than somebody else's. It's about being at a table and being able to discuss those changes and differences of opinions. That's what matters. We got to be better than that as far as a society. We really do. There is definitely some more nonsense going on because, our current president has taken a stance when it comes to the traffic taxes and stuff within Manhattan. And we all know that the traffic in Manhattan sucks. But I will tell you this, as working for a company that is based out of the Bronx, and we cover a large area of the East Coast. I will tell you this, the amount of tolls, like I drove to New Jersey about a month ago. My tolls down and back were $16. Think about that. Now, with the traffic taxes and all this other bullshit that they're trying to implement, it might actually cost a company that has to do business within the city limits where all these taxes and stuff are, it might cost you $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 a week in all those tolls and taxes just to be able to operate and do business. That's a lot of money to absorb. When you're trying to keep prices down because of competitiveness with other companies, with trying to make things affordable for the consumer, the last line. You got to wrap your head around all of this stuff. The overhead on something like that is ridiculous. And I understand why they did it, to try to slow it down, but people that grew up in the city are very savvy and they can take other streets and other avenues to be able to get in and out of that congested area. You might as well just alleviate the tax. You're better off with just keeping things moderate. Moderation always seems to be the answer, which is funny because I saw this reel the other day and it had to do with the Boston Tea Party and how the revolution, essentially, part of what started it was a tax on tea. A small tax on tea. And you look at how much we are taxed as American citizens now. And at that time, a tiny tax on tea started a revolution, was a catalyst for a revolution. Meanwhile, we get taxed up and down all over the place, and we just absorb it, move on with our lives. It's just crazy how generationally things have changed. All right, so enough of that. What do you guys think of all the retail talk and all the challenges and all that stuff that I have discussed when it comes to the retail side of things? Do you think that there is things that you align with in your current job? Do you think that there is a lot of things that resemble where you work? One of the things that interests me about talking about, that aspect of my life and that part of my life is that life changes so much. And I'm glad I had those experiences within retail because I really enjoyed working retail. I really enjoyed my customers. I enjoyed being a part of their weekly, sometimes daily part of their lives. And I liked being able to hear about people's different stories and getting to know people and building a level of trust. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. What I didn't enjoy was all those negative things, and I had a conversation with one of my old bosses the other day, and I ended the conversation with saying to him, I'm sorry that things were the way they were when we worked together, because I didn't appreciate what was being said to me, and I didn't appreciate how things were being delivered. I always took everything as a personal attack. Sometimes it wasn't even me taking it as a personal attack. Like I took things to heart. I always wanted to do a good job, and I wanted to make sure that what I did on a day in and day out basis was the best I could do. And I got blinded at times, 100%. This one person, I think, when I got to work with him later on, is when I really appreciated what he was doing, and I actually took the time to have a better relationship with him. And I wish I had done it sooner. And there are some people within the company that I wish I had not taken the opportunity to have a relationship with. It always blows my mind that a company that I worked for so long has taken such a different course with how they go to business and how they market and all of those things that make a business operational. I think it's incredible that I have met some really great people along the way. One of them I just saw celebrating like 25 years with that company, and that person was very instrumental in my career at that place. And one of them being, they were one of my first human resources person, and when I left and came back, they lobbied pretty hard for me to be able to make sure that when I came back, because I had a small kid, that my insurance and all those things took effect a lot sooner than they actually probably should have. And they were a sounding board for me when I had questions or concerns or looked for some guidance on how to handle different things. And one of the true good people that worked within that company. I wish that the company hadn't gotten so corrupted with power, with just thinking that certain people were better than they really are. The company itself has gotten, like it used to be a triangle, right? Where there was only a few people at the top, and it was very small as far as like upper management, and then really the bulk of decision making and how they went to business was very much at the bottom, like your grassroots people working in the stores and the management within the stores and then within those zones, and everybody kind of knew everybody, and it was very competitive from the standpoint of everybody just wanted to be able to increase their sales and increase their sales against other stores that were doing equal, maybe a little bit more business. Now it's kind of an upside down triangle where there's a lot of people up at the corporate office pointing the finger at those grassroots people and expecting so much out of them without giving them the support and without listening openly, communicating openly as to what the needs are of the people within those buildings. And even if you try from the standpoint of one of those individuals working in the stores, and you try to discuss with these open forums to be able to share, like, listen, these are some of the challenges and these are some of the opportunities that we're seeing, and these are some of the things that could really help us be better at what we do, it becomes like the telephone game. So that information slowly gets filtered, because God forbid should somebody understand through that pecking order as it filters through the channels from the top or from the bottom to the top. God forbid should somebody be accountable for, oh shit, I'm the one who made that decision and I didn't realize that it was impacting them like this. We need to make a difference. No, we can't let that get to the top because it's going to show my failure. There's failures in everything. Every aspect of life, there's a fucking failure for something. And if you think for 1 second that you didn't fail at something, you're fucking wrong. Failure comes growth. Admitting to the opportunity or the failure is part of that process of growing. And you have to be able to admit that. Nobody thinks you're perfect. Everybody knows that you have opportunities. Whether or not you're willing to allow those things to be exposed and say, hey, listen, that was my call. We probably should have looked at that a little bit longer. Maybe we should did some more testing before we rolled out this program. Maybe when we decided to do this, maybe we should have, spent more time talking to the people at the store level than just saying we know what's best for them and implementing these programs. Now, just before I left, I was actually part of a group that dealt with training and structures and how they were going to move forward with the departments that I managed. A lot of the people that were in that group were from the corporate office, and store managers. I was the only individual that was allowed to be a part of this group and was invited by the man who started the group to be a part of this. Also, for the record, one of the same people that came down to say goodbye to me. I was allowed to be a part of this, and I tried to be as active as I could, but you could tell that there was a little bit of an undertone in those meetings where not the gentleman who invited me to be a part of this, but some of the other participants in this group didn't feel like my opinion mattered and that what I was saying wasn't actually relevant. Now, think about that. So you have store managers who their job is to operate the whole store, and most of them didn't really come from the background of where my expertise was, which was meat and seafood. Most of them came from the dry goods and the grocery side of the business. Very different to operate. Very, very different to operate because you're dealing with perishable product. You're dealing with controlling your inventories, which typically the grocery managers don't really have a necessity to micromanage it as much as a perishable manager does because you have a longer shelf life on these items. So you can afford to be overbought sometimes. Perishable items, you can't afford to be overbought for an extended period of time because it'll significantly contribute to your shrink, which is anything that you don't sell that either gets damaged or becomes old or whatever that now goes right to the garbage. So think about that for a second. You're in a group to help design a program and restructure the way these departments go, the way meat and seafood go to business. And your general or your platoon leader is in these meetings with the generals and all these other people, and you're not listening to what they're telling you because you think you know better. Well, when the fuck was the last time that you worked in that environment? When was the last time that you were in there for more than one day or a few hours to see what operationally happens and what the impact of what you're trying to implement could have on those environments? The funny part is that not all the stores are the same. The clientele is different, the setup is different, the amount of space you have in those stores is different, the amount of bodies that you have, the caliber of the help that you have is not the same in every store. Those are all contributing factors as to how well an individual can do their job, one, and how much extra time they have to be able to take on extra tasks. We didn't spend enough time developing people and giving them the tools that they needed to succeed. They think that a few weeks training is enough to put somebody out on their own when it's not. You need to be able to have a trainee literally work side by side with you for a month. Every shift needs to be with you at different times of the day to be able to take in whatever. But instead, the training is relied on other people that could either be part-time or maybe a full-timer that isn't looking to go any further. Then the training falls on them to be able to get it done, but they're not as invested in their career as somebody else. So you end up getting some poor training. They don't necessarily have all the answers as to why they should be buying into these programs and whatever else. It's a recipe for disaster is the best way I can explain it. When you work for a company in which every company I've worked for, I've wanted to see growth. I've wanted the company to succeed. I've invested my energy and my time into making this place grow. And yes, that is a failure. That is a benefit of being able to be, if you're an entrepreneur, all your time and effort and your vision is going directly into your pocket. Unfortunately, most of us are not entrepreneurs. We work for somebody else, and I'll speak for myself. Like, I want my work to be a representation of me. I push back when I have to. I am one of those people that's not afraid to push back. Maybe that's why I wasn't put in a position where I could get promoted faster, because I didn't always just go with the flow. It wasn't because I personally resisted it. I resisted certain things because of what I saw on the ground level. Some of these programs and some of these policy changes were not going to work out. Here's a spinning example of that. When I first became a manager, the company decided to integrate all of the perishable departments in as one group. So you got rid of a lot of managers. There used to be a manager for meat, another one for seafood, another one for deli, another one for food service. And what they did is they incorporated meat and seafood. They incorporated produce and floral. They incorporated deli and food service with one manager, which is fine if that's what they wanted to do, to restructure things, to make it harder for the unions to be able to come in and take a stronghold on their stores. Okay, I understand that. I didn't want to work for a union, so I supported the idea of where they were going with this change. Here's what I didn't support. You put me in charge of meat and seafood. You took the seafood manager and made them my assistant, but you continued to treat the seafood manager like they were a charge of their own department when they're not now. The pecking order has now changed. Now you're the assistant of meat and seafood, and there is a manager that is in charge of meat and seafood. So you can't treat these individuals like they are in the same role with the same capacity. Yes, they have the same skill set, but they are not the end all when it comes to those decision making. And that's where they went wrong. You can't change the pecking order and then not incorporate the person that you deem to be the department manager. You can't make seafood decisions on your own without having a conversation with the person who's in charge of them. And that's where things got murky. And that's why that didn't work. Now, from my understanding is that they re-implemented a similar policy at this point. I don't know how it's operating, but again, like if you don't change the way you address things and who you go to with different problems, you're going to end up with the same result, right? Like that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Like there, you have to change some aspect of it and continue to make that change. Making it once doesn't make it better, and that's something that I think needs to really be evaluated. Like I would love to see the company really take over the Northeast as probably the biggest grocer in the Massachusetts, Connecticut. I'd love to see them go into Rhode Island, New York, New Hampshire, Vermont. Like the company could absolutely grow like that if they get off the path that they're on. I don't know if they ever will because of the outside bodies that they bring in that don't see the vision or say they see the vision, but they're implementing the tactics and the way they went to business with other companies when this company didn't operate like that. It is starting to operate more and more like that now, but they didn't operate like that. They were really a company that was about the customers, and they would spend the payroll dollars and do whatever it is they had to do because it was about having full shelves and having the best customer experience they could possibly have. And it's wild because in my tenure there, they went from having surveys where employees took a survey to determine how well their manager was managing, and they had surveys that did the same thing for customers. Now, the wild part about it is, and this is where shit gets fucked up when it comes to those surveys, they limited the people that could take the surveys, right? So now they're worried about their perception within supermarket business as a whole. So now, instead of surveying all of your employees, you handpick the ones you want to answer the survey to get the result that you're looking for. Then from a customer standpoint, those people that take those surveys, you think that through a year or over 2 surveying periods that they would sample the same group. So let's just say in the first quarter they sample a group and it comes back and the service at the butcher shop wasn't good, or the store wasn't clean, or bathrooms weren't clean, or variety of items were off, right? Now, in order to be able to make a true determination as to whether you met those customers' expectations in those areas, you would have to resample the same group. But they don't. They resample a new group. And then they try to say that there was improvement in those areas. Well, there may have been, but you don't really have a true barometer as to whether or not you actually did it because you didn't ask the same people again. If you watch Kitchen Nightmares, Gordon Ramsay does a lot of exactly what I'm saying. People come in, he samples customers that used to go there, he asks them why they don't go there, he invites them back to try it again. That's how you know if you've made an impact or you've made a real change. Not by sampling multiple different people and asking them the same questions from quarter to quarter to quarter, and it's always a different group, and then act like you made a difference. You didn't make a difference. You manipulated your numbers. It's not how you make change. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm just glad that I don't have to deal with any of that nonsense and the bullshit anymore of being in the store. I feel bad for the people that are still living that nightmare. There's some really, really good people, and hopefully they don't get burnt out and give up. So, with that said, thank you guys always for following the podcast, for listening. I hope you're checking out all the videos on YouTube. Please, as always, leave some feedback if there's something that you'd like to see different, something that you agree with me on, something that you think I'm completely off base on. Please jump on, let me know. I appreciate the feedback, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.